and 3 braids at the top. You can make a hat like this and then put others through the middle that stick out. I've seen people make entire rainbow hats like that by putting them through the twists of the hat. Once they get them in place, they'll put 5 or 6 of them of different colors, or they'll put different colors from here across to here. So you have the hat, and you can put a blue one, a green one, a yellow one, a red one, and you can have a rainbow hat that they can walk around with on top as well. It comes down to how many balloons do you want that person to have, because there is an expense and a time relation for you. If you're going to make a 10-minute hat for a child that's going to put it on the ground and step on it, it's not really worth your 10 minutes. But if you're going to put a hat on somebody who's going to wear it in a parade, by all means, the longer, the bigger it is, the more colorful it is, the more it's going to stand out for you.
That's how you card again in that hat.
Okay, you overlap them at the tails, just like you're doing. You measure the side of the person's head, and make sure you got a couple inches on either side of their head. Then just like make a pinch on one end and twist it all the way around. You're going to do the same on the other end. You can just overhand grab it in one hand and just pinch it all the way around. At this point, you do a trial fitting. If you've made it too tight, it'll be uncomfortable. They will not keep it there. So untie it and sew it. That's the time to do it right at the beginning. And you can make it a little larger on one side. It doesn't matter at that point. Once you have them vertical, cross them, and with an overhand grasp, grab it above and twist. Remember, if you let go, they'll untwist. As long as you hold them, pinch it in one hand and lock them together. To make sure it doesn't untie, just take one of them down through the center, and it'll stay that way. And you can make the dance.
You gonna wear it home?
It'll be a little hard to drive the car. Now, what you're doing will work, but if you show the children that sucking on the balloon will make it pop up, you'll end up with a whole bunch of children choking on balloons because they'll stick it in their mouth. We try not to get them to put it in their mouth, so that's where learning how to pop the tail up this way is so much better. That way they don't learn to put a balloon in their mouth, because that's the last thing we want them to do, to start choking on balloons.
Can you redo that flower head again?
Of course. You fill it all the way, or as far as you can, but you have to bleed the pressure off. So start easing the air out until the balloon starts to shorten. Once it starts to shorten, it's reached its minimum diameter, and you can tie it off. Tie the two ends together, usually a reef knot, but any knot will do. If you don't know knots, just tie knots. You'll find halfway down the balloon, like just pinching it, and rotate one side. So you end up with 2 bubbles. Yeah, just pull it and turn one side. Now visually, divide it into 3. You're going to make 2 twists there, but you're going to make it so it S folds. So twist 1, fold it over, hold it against your abdomen, and make the other twist. You're going to fold it the opposite way though, so that they'll make an S or a Z. Correct. Yep. Yep, like that. Fold it. Now end to end. The end of the balloons and the other end of the balloons, push them into the middle and grab it all in one hand. Once you have it all in one hand, rotate one side all the way around to lock them in place. Wincing like you're scared is probably going to make the kids scared. So it's not a good thing. You can beautify it. Mine looks like that too. You just beautify it. Put the petals where they're supposed to be.
I didn't lean off.
Yeah. You can actually pop one of them if you want.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
It'll still look just as good with 5, and they'll fit easy.
Oh yeah, it's coming.
There you go. Now to make the stem of the flower, about when people talk about how much to leave, they always refer to how many fingers to leave at the end. So some instructors, if you're watching YouTube videos, they'll say leave 4 fingers, 5 fingers, or 2 or 3 hands, but that's what they're meaning. So leave 4 or 5 fingers at the end. Make a golf ball sized twist. That's going to be the stamen of the flower, the part that sticks out in the middle. Just put it between 2 of the petals and pull it down into the middle. Now, if your balloon is tight, the way to get it from here to the bottom is twist it while you move it, and it'll rotate into the bottom position between 2 petals. Yep, that works. Now, bend it and put leaves on the side. And you can make a whole vase full of these. If you want to pop the one on the back, you can, or there you go. Oh. Or you can put them into place. Your choice. Again, popping it with our teeth though is something we shouldn't do in front of the kids. We should all at that point have a name pin or a decorative pin and pop it. The other good thing to have quite often is seatbelt cutters or letter openers, the plastic ones, because you don't want to be seen biting a balloon, but having something as simple as a belt cutter. There we go. Well, I got mine on the end here. I just wear it on my belt when I'm performing. And you can cut the ends off the balloons just the same way. Pull it between them and down. And you'll cut your balloons. And the kids don't see you biting it. They don't get the idea of putting it in their mouth. So little props like that for performing are great, but a pin will do just as well, as long as they don't see you sticking it in your mouth or out of camera. The rabbit, like I said, same as your dog, 3 chains of 3. Remember to twist it in between for the legs. It helps give it stability. Longer ears, short front legs, and then tuck them in. Keep it sitting. Again, sometimes if the balloon is overinflated, they won't tuck in very easily, which you might have to do. And again, it's not something parents like to see. But if you wet the sides of it with your finger, they lock in place a lot easier. A damp balloon will hold better than a dry one. So keep it in place and let them sit. Would you like me to go over any of the basic ones again? The sword, a simple loop tucked through the middle. The belt is once around the child, and then whatever the tail is left, you make one little loop on the outside just for the pocket of the sword, the scabbard. And remind the parents that you can take it off just by pulling it down. I've seen parents try to untie it, and that's never good. The result is never a happy child. We know how to make the magic tail.
Still working on that one.
Well, none of these are things that you do the first time in front of a child. You always perfect your skill at home or in practice with your colleagues, and once you have it, then you start performing it in front of the children. You never want to go in front of the children and try something new or try something you're not confident with, because as a performer, they expect you to be the knowledgeable one to make it work. And don't be afraid to say, I can't make something. If the child comes up and says, you know, I want you to make me a unicorn, and you've never made a unicorn, let them know that. Let them know what you can make, and let them pick one of those. There's nothing wrong with giving them a list. Some people will take pictures of what they can do, and they'll have almost like a card catalog of what you can ask for. That way the children, even the ones who may not speak our language, can still point at a picture and say, this is what I want.
If you've got the whole lineup of kids, you ask them what they want, or do you just make whatever?
I always ask, but I'm really fast.
I see.
If you are dealing with hundreds of children, what you might want to do is pre-blow up bags of balloons a certain length. So you'll have a tub that are all set for swords. You'll have a tub of balloons that are all set for puppy dogs, a tub of balloons that are all set for kitty cats. You only give them a limited choice, and that's where that picture catalog can come in. You can have just 3 pictures on the front of your table, of a cat, a dog, a sword, or a hat, and let them pick which one of those three they want, and you already have a tub there. That way, the time taken to blow up the balloon is gone, and you already have 50 balloons, 75 balloons blown up. Worst case scenario, nobody shows up and you waste 50 balloons. Oh darn, there goes $3. But you were prepared, rather than having 100 kids show up and you be caught behind the 8 ball. Good question.
What size balloons have to we working with?
These are called 260s, 260 millimeter, but there are the smaller ones, 160s. They're half the diameter, so they take 4 times the PSI to blow them up. So even I can't make it all the way to the end, but you end up with a balloon much narrower as a result. But it is significantly longer. But they're great for making decorative things, or in the case of people who want something like a mouse or a puppy, a little tiny one, you can make a little tiny thing like a mouse out of something like this that somebody's going to actually think of as a mouse compared to the rest of the big animals they're making. So you can make something small out of the 160s that'll look tiny, exactly the same way as the others, but they're harder to blow up. What do you have your pump with you? See if your hand pump will blow one of these up. You don't think so?
We'll get them on.
When you first get the hand pumps, a lot of them have very small nozzles on them that'll work, but some of them, get the nozzles cut down or broken.
Yeah.
There you go.
Oh, yeah, there it goes.
So they are significantly longer than the other ones. You can make a great snake, but because of their narrow diameter, again, what you're making with it is going to look funny depending on what it is. They make great flowers though, because they're so narrow. You can make a 6-petal flower easily. You lost it.
That was a long time ago, too.
Have you guys ever worked with any of those?
No.
I accidentally, about 2 years ago, ordered a case of these, so I'll be happy to leave a bag here for you guys to practice with. I ordered a case of them, and the company said, yeah, we'll be happy to take them back and restock them at $3 a bag. Well, I had to pay $6 a bag, and I had to pay shipping and handling both ways, so I just kept them. So I have several bags of those lying around.
I find this one, although it looks complex, it's pretty easy to do.
The parrot is definitely simple. The only part,
Run through it again for the
yep,
guys?
the only thing to remember on the parrot is how to make the beak. You fill it up with a 2-finger or 3-finger remaining. You tie it off. Now you make, the first bubble is fairly small, about a 1/2-inch bubble, half the size of a golf ball. The second bubble, a little bigger than a golf ball. That'll be your parrot's head. And the way you make it is you take the first one, and you tie just the knot and wrap it around the bottom end, hold it in place. That's going to be the head and the beak stretched out. To make the body, you lift it about 6 inches past the neck and wrap them together. And pull it down into the middle of them like that. Here's where you have to have the sizable hand. You want to be able to get all 3 of these balloons in one grip and pinch them all 3 at once and twist it together. That'll lock it in place and rotate it into the middle of the circle. That'll be the parrot's swing. Whatever's left over is the tail, but to make it curve, you stretch it by squeezing it and guiding it up with your thumb. That way you'll have a curved tail that's a little narrow. Give them the parrot sitting in a swing. The children can put their arms through it. They can wear it on their shoulders. You just keep turning it around so that they have a parrot at each time. Or they can put it onto their heads. Once it's there, it just sits in the swing each time. And the only key is remembering to tie the small bubble around the neck and to lift the tail 6 inches above the head. That'll give you enough body to fold it into the middle. Make it with the smaller one. Small bubble, larger, wrap them around, take it up past the top of the head, and around, down into the middle, squeeze them together, and then rotate that into the middle of the swing. The tail is whatever's left of it. So you can make it with any of the sizes of the balloons. There is a size bigger than this called a 360. They're not as flexible, but when they're inflated, they're about 5 inches around, 6 inches around. They're great if you're going to make something large like a deer or a full-sized animal. They're great at Christmas time. You're going to make a Christmas decoration. You can actually make the deer's body and then use the narrow ones to make deer's antlers. But you can do the same thing with small ones. Just like making a dog or a rabbit or anything else, a four-legged animal like a reindeer is exactly the same. The only difference is the antlers. So instead of giving it 2 ears, I'll make the nose, and then I'll make a chain of 8 little bubbles. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Once you have that chain of bubbles, lock them together in a circle. To make antlers though, take 4 on each side and twist them around. And you'll end up with the antlers of a deer. And after that, it's exactly the same. 4 legs and a tail. If you want to take another little piece of red bubble afterwards and give Rudolph a red nose, you can take a little red bubble and tie it onto the end of his nose and give him a red nose and have Rudolph at the head of the sleigh. All four-legged animals. Everything is the same except the length of the head, length of the ears, length of the neck even. The giraffe, no different. You can do it with the same ears as the dog, with 2, or you can do the pinch twist at the top of the giraffe's head. Give him the long neck, short legs, and little Johnny has a giraffe just the same. Conveniently, almost the same. If you made the head different, you could make a dachshund. The wiener dog's the same. It's almost the same twist. It's just different direction and the child's imagination.
For a horse, I just make the face longer.
I make the face longer, but I put a link of 6 bubbles across the back of the neck to be the mane of the horse. And that way it delineates it from a dog by doing that. It also gives you the ability, if you want, to tie a unicorn horn onto it to stick out through the front. I'll show you that. A lot of these more complicated ones aren't necessarily ones you do just with. No, I'm fine, thank you. Appreciate the offer. So, a chain of 6, just like for the deer, you did a chain of 8. Here's a chain of 6. But you make the neck and then rotate these bubbles around the outside of it to give the illusion that they're running down the back of the neck. The rest of the horse will be the same as any other four-legged animal. 2 front legs, a body, 2 back legs, and a tail. You can curve the tail if you like. But to make it into a unicorn, just take a white balloon, squeeze the air down so only the little tail of it is inflated. Cut that off and tie it just around the base of the head. Just wrap it around a couple times. And little Sally has herself a unicorn that'll be the envy of all the kids. You can do anything with the balloons. It's only limited by your imagination and what the child can see. I've had a guy ask me to make a Starship Enterprise. I had a guy ask me to make a wood plane, an old-fashioned wood plane. You can make anything. It's the person that sees it. It's what they think it is. And you just agree with them. If little Johnny wants a Tyrannosaurus Rex, this could be his Tyrannosaurus Rex. You just tell him that it's this way instead of this way. It's exactly the same animal. It has 2 front legs, 2 back legs, and a tail. It's just a Tyrannosaurus Rex stands up. A horse stands on 4 legs. There's not a lot of difference in it. You can explore with it if you like, and change the proportions. but they're all gonna be exactly the same. You're gonna end up with an animal that has the head, a neck, and some front legs. Remember, if you wanna have something change direction, that pinch twist that we showed you for the sides of the motorcycle will change direction. So if you put a pinch twist on the back of the legs like that, you can have it so it stands vertically now instead of at an angle. Do the same with back legs. And another pinch twist. And they'll stand vertical. Bend the tail any way you want, and then little Johnny's T-Rex is there. It's not a difference. All four-legged animals, exactly the same way. 4 legs, a tail, and a head. It's just a matter of you visualizing what proportions that animal's going to have. Is it going to have the rabbit's long front ears, short front legs, and a little tiny tail? If you know what it's going to look like, it's just a matter of you changing the proportion of those bubbles when you're twisting it. A lot of people will get you to use these balloons. I picked this up at one of the dollar stores. They're really a lightweight balloon. Most of you will have no trouble, I shouldn't say that, you might have no trouble blowing them up by mouth. They're only single layer. Most of the balloons we use as professionals, these are triple dipped. So they're really thick, that's why they're so difficult to blow up. These ones you get at dollar stores are only single layered balloons. They're really easy to blow up, but unfortunately, because they're so thin, if somebody asks you to make animals out of them, you're really limited in what you can make because they are quite fragile. So, unfortunately, because your friends will already know that you guys are clowns, they're going to ask you to come to their party and they're probably going to have a bag of something like this. Just be aware that if they have the store-bought ones, they're probably not going to be Qualitex ones or Balloon X. There are several different companies that are all good that are professional ones. A lot of these dollar store ones, though, you'll get something fragile like that, that as soon as you start twisting it, or as soon as the child puts it around their head, they're gonna pop really easy. They just come apart. So be cautious when the children, or when you're working with the kids. If you have something like that, warn the parents ahead of time. It's very fragile, not good for their kids. And if possible, stick to your
party, you should take your own balloons anyway.
Yes, but because you guys, your friends know you're clowns. You're gonna show up at somebody's house and they're gonna go, oh, you're a clown, here, I got some balloons, can you make, and just make sure. I always carry them around with me. I don't know if you guys do that, but when I order them by the case lot, you know, you share the cost of shipping between 15 of you. It's nothing. Order 30 or 40 dozen of them at a time, and as long as they're $2.60, doesn't matter which of the bags it is, whether you get traditional, the carnival colors with all the bright greens and stuff, or if you go, what are these ones? The Entertainers Assorted. Doesn't really matter. The traditional are the ones most of us will use, but they're harder to find those colors. Any other questions? Or anyone want to work on any one of these specific ones?
Very